even know where to start, my goodness. Okay, I'm ready now. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Lizzie Diaries and welcome back to the series of saying goodbye to my 20s. Today we are saying goodbye to 21 and I'm really excited to do this one. If you missed the last episode of saying goodbye to 20, I highly suggest you go watch it because we left off on the cliffhanger. I'm about to meet the love of my life. But you need to understand everything that got me to this point. So I will link it here. Go watch Saying Goodbye to 20 and then come back and watch this video. Last time on Saying Goodbye to my 20s, I cried on camera. You met my mom, my sister, my roommate bestie, my non-roommate besties, and I opened up about grieving the loss of my dad. The summer of 2017 altered my brain chemistry and had me living my teenage dream rom-com life. There were highs and lows, happy moments and heartbreak, and coming off of that had me searching for true love. And little did I know I was about to find it. And that's what you missed on. And that brings us to 21. There is a lot that happened going into my 21st year. I was obviously going into it very heartbroken, but I would not stay that way for very long. I would end up meeting my now husband. I would make some really important decisions that would truly set me up for the rest of my life. I ended up getting endowed in the temple, took some amazing family vacations, had my last semester with my best friends and my roommates, and I would end up working full-time for a company that I still work for to this day. So 21 really kickstarted my life and the trajectory of my life, and it's so fun to look back on and to think that so much of who I am today started in this year, 21. So right before I turned 21, I met my now husband, Jake. He ended up moving in with my best friend, Max. I would say we hit it off immediately. Our friendship was like a slow, gradual start, but something that just constantly drew me to him was he was so funny. Like every time we were together in a group, he was so funny. He could always make me laugh, and that was really attractive to me. On my 21st birthday, I remember asking him, "Are you gonna come to my birthday party, Jake?" He was like, "I don't know, I have to study, but I'm gonna try to make it." And I was like, okay. And he ended up coming to my birthday party even though he had so much homework to do, which, knowing my husband now, that was a huge sacrifice for him. He's such a good student and takes school really seriously, more seriously than I ever did. And so him coming to my birthday party and sacrificing that time was so sweet. At my birthday party, we sat really close to each other on the couch there, and we remember that feeling of our arms touching was just electrifying. And we were flirting all night and it was just so fun. But my mom and sister threw me this amazing birthday party. So many of my friends came, so many of my ward friends came, and it was just really special. It was a very special birthday. Leaving that, going into the fall, Jake and I ended up going on our first date. We went on 3 official dates and then we made it official that we were boyfriend and girlfriend. He asked me formally to be his girlfriend. I'm not gonna go into some of these stories too deeply because I want to do a separate story time of our love story because it's so special, hilarious, and there's so many funny things that happen. But that was kind of the big thing, is we were flirting and falling for each other and it was so fun. It was just the funnest time. So he took me on 3 official dates. On the 3rd date, he officially asked me to be his girlfriend. At that point, we had known each other for 5 months, and so we were just very comfortable with each other. I remember on our first date, he took me to a Vocal Point concert. I loved Vocal Point, and we ended up sitting in his car afterward getting ice cream, and we talked for 2 or 3 hours. It was a long time, and we just talked and laughed, and I remember feeling this is special. We just really hit it off right off the bat. Right after Jake and I started dating, I chose to get endowed in the temple. Now, this was a really unique thing back then. The year is 2017 still. I did not serve a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I wasn't getting married. So choosing to go through the temple without either of those 2 events happening at that time was very unique. It was not frowned upon. I just feel like it was very rare. It didn't really happen. Now I feel like it happens a lot. And I feel like it's very like, okay, but at that time I was like, whoa, that's a big decision. But I just really felt like it was the right time in my life. I felt very strongly that that was the next step for me. And I just felt very strongly that it was the right thing to do. I'd been very guided and prompted to that decision, and I very prayerfully considered it, and I felt very confident making that decision. Getting endowed was extremely special. Everyone came, all my friends were able to be there. Jake was there. It was also extremely special. At this point, we had been officially boyfriend and girlfriend for 1 week, and he was at my endowment, which is so cool. To say that my husband was there when I got endowed and we weren't yet getting married is very special. I loved getting endowed. It ended up being a really special thing. Jake and I were able to go to the temple so much together during our dating because I was endowed, and I feel like it just added an extra really special, solid element to our relationship. So now we're in 2018, basically January through May. I had my last semester with my best friends. Casey, my roommate, had gotten engaged to Colby, one of Jake and Max's roommates. Leanne, one of my roommates, had gotten engaged to Josh, one of the other roommates from V6, and they were both getting married over the summer, which means they were both moving out. It was so sad. I was so happy for them. Like, I wanted that for them so much. It was the right thing, and I loved them as couples. But I was so sad for me because Casey was my best friend. Saying goodbye to her when she moved out was a really hard thing. But I got to be one of her bridesmaids at her wedding, and it was so special. Just the most special day. When two of your best friends get married to each other, you could not ask for anything better. This was also a really fun time. Max met someone named Emily, and they started dating. And then we would all hang out. Sorry, I'm like getting giddy about it because it made me so happy. We would all hang out, and Emily and I became really close, best friends. Jake and I were dating, Max and Jake were best friends, they were cousins, and it just was so fun. And Emily, I will say, to this day, is still one of my best friends. And she did end up marrying Max. They ended up getting married. So now her and I are cousins, and it's so freaking fun. But this year, 2018, being 21 is when we met, and we just became so close. I remember we decorated the boys' rooms for Valentine's Day. We would go to Max's football games together. She just became like fully integrated into our friend group, and I just love and adore her so much. If you guys are watching this, just know I love you so much. So that was so special. But come May, everyone moved out. My whole apartment moved out. I was the only one that stayed in my apartment. So much of our singles ward changed. Everyone was moving. It was just like this huge turnover and change around me. And I kind of felt like everyone around me was like moving forward and changing and had these big life events happening to them. And I felt very stagnant. I felt like, oh, well, I'm still working the same job and I'm still living in the same place. I felt like, am I moving forward? I wasn't sure. I'm still going to the same school. It just felt like everyone was moving on with their lives and I was a little bit stuck. Now, that's not to say that like I wasn't happy, because me and Jake were in such an incredible place, and with everyone kind of leaving me, I say that very lovingly because I wanted them to move on. Same thing with how my mom and my sister were with me moving out when I was 20. I wanted that for my friends. I wanted them to grow and have their lives and get married. I wanted nothing more than to get married. So the fact that they were doing it, I was like, yes, go get married. So I was so happy for them. But it was really hard for everyone to like feel like everyone was leaving. But it really set up a fantastic summer for Jake and I. We really clung to each other. We became each other's best friends. We did everything together. We both were working a ton. Jake was in school full-time and working. I was working full-time. I took the summer off of school. Our schedules were so incredibly crazy. I call it the summer of just like grinding it out. If you've ever heard the song by JTM, James the Mormon, and David Archuleta, where it's like, I say we out the ground, we work it. That's how that summer felt. Jake was working this early morning job. I would work 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. He would work super early in the morning, so I would come home at 5 o'clock, sometimes 5:30. He would have to go to bed at like 8. So we would have maybe 2 hours together In that time, we would also need to eat dinner, do homework, go grocery shopping, like whatever needed extra chores or things needed to be done had to happen in that time, and so we would go do those things together. It was just so crazy. I can't believe we honestly like made it work, but I feel like that's a testament of how much we just like adored each other and like how well we worked together because we were able to make that summer work so well. We really were only seeing each other for like 2 hours a day. And then Friday nights, Saturdays, and Sundays, we just like were together nonstop, 12 hours a day. We just wanted to be with each other so much. And I was just completely smitten with him. We went on some really fun family vacations. We went to St. George and Carlsbad with family, and it was so fun. And then came the hard part of summer, and that was dropping my sister off at college in the fall, and that was so hard. We were dropping Emma off in southern Utah at college. I was so excited for her to have this adventure because I loved college so much. So for her to like be leaving home and having her own adventure, I didn't want anything more for her. Like, I just wanted her to have that. But I cried so hard leaving her in southern Utah. I think both me and my mom cried for 45 minutes of the drive. It was so hard. Emma is my best friend, and so leaving her at college was so difficult. It made me really sad, but I was watching everyone around me like make these big decisions and have these crazy amazing adventures, and I felt a lot of peace with where I was at, but at the same time I was like, should I be doing this? like should I be going and like having adventures and things? But that's just not who I am. It's not what I wanted. I had done that. I had gone to Fiji right before I turned 20. I had moved out. I had had my adventure. Once I met Jake, I was ready to marry him. I was like, cool, this is it. I'm good. We're done. I found my person, and I will just wait till we get married because that's what I wanted. I knew I wanted that. With summer, I also was really trying to integrate myself into my singles ward. I got this amazing calling of being the activities coordinator for the ward, which is just like right up my alley. I am a type A planner, and I love parties and planning parties and things. So being the activities coordinator was just like a dream come true. And Jake was so sweet, and he would come run errands with me, help me plan. I had these big grandiose ideas, and he would help me like execute my plans. I felt like through Jake and I's dating, I started to see how much he understood me and like accepted me as I was. And because it was just us two for the whole summer, it just felt like he really got to know me in a way that I couldn't hide any part of myself. I was who I was, and he loved that person that I was. And that meant so much to me because I felt like no other guy had really accepted me for who I was. Something I always say about Jake is that I have never so fully felt like myself in my life than when I am with him. To find that in a partner and in a relationship, I don't think you can ask for anything better. It's very special. I literally just love Jake so much, it's gonna make me cry. Going into the fall, Jake went back to BYU, and I actually decided to quit school. I felt like I was just a terrible student. School was not something that came easy to me. It was very difficult. At the time, I had transferred back to UVU. I wasn't sure what I wanted to major in. They didn't have my major at the school. And I felt like I just kept switching majors. Like I had picked social media marketing, and then I had picked business or advertising or something like that. I just felt very directionless. So I was like, I'm not gonna waste my money. I need to just take a semester and just think about it. Well, a semester ended up turning into like 2 years. But going into the fall, I was just working full time. I got all new roommates. They were amazing. They were super sweet. We became really good friends with one couple and did some double dates and things. Jake and I were stronger than ever and loving dating, and it was just great. And then I was about to turn 22. What I feel like I really learned about myself when I was 21 was just how sure of myself I was and my decision-making skills. I knew I wanted to marry Jake. Like I was like, yep, he's the one. And I knew it very early on in our dating, and I was just willing to wait because I was like, he needs to have the same clarity and I need to give him that time, and I'm gonna just date him however long it takes because I just know he's the one. And then working full time, dropping out of school, like these are all like getting endowed. These were all really big decisions for me, and I felt so sure and confident making them. It was just really cool for me to feel so confident in myself, and honestly, I feel like Jake kind of gave me that confidence. A lot of it was me, but I feel like he helped grow that in me a lot and made me feel just so sure of myself. He's just such a blessing. I also knew I was like a really bad student. Like that's the other thing I learned about myself when I was 21 is I sucked at school. I was so bad. I would eventually learn the skill and get my degree, but man, it did not come easy to me. And so I needed to take some time to like feel like I was good at something because school was just so difficult. I think too, coming off of like grief and losing my dad, it was really hard for me to focus and like to be really disciplined with school. So again, I just needed time. Some of the highlights of being 21 was obviously dating Jake. We dated the entire time I was 21 years old, and it was a dream come true. Like, Jake is my dream come true. I just love him, adore him. I prayed for him and waited for him my whole life, and finding him was a dream. Like, he is a dream. So that was like an obvious highlight of being 21. Another funny little highlight is The Greatest Showman actually came out January or December of 2017, so January 2018, and me and my family loved it so much. We went and saw it 5 times in theaters. The entire month of January, we were going every Tuesday with my extended family, and I'd bring Jake along. We went every Tuesday for a month to go see The Greatest Showman. It was so fun. I still to this day love it and adore it. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, and that happened when I was 21. We had 2 vacations that year. As a family, we went to Carlsbad, California and St. George. Again, so fun. We stayed in Oceanside and just played on the beach, walked around California, explored some places I had never been before. We went to St. George, I think a couple of times actually, and St. George is just a very happy place for me. I feel like I go there every single year, multiple times a year, and that's just because I love it. Being the activities director in my singles ward, again, being able to show off those strengths and really practice my passion, like that was so fun for me. That was a dream calling. And then getting endowed. Getting endowed was like the highlight of being 21. I love the temple so much. It is somewhere I feel so much peace and joy. It is a happy place for me, and getting to expand how I get to go to the temple and getting to make promises and covenants with my Heavenly Father. Oh, it just blessed me so much, and it's something I'm so grateful for. And then the hard parts of being 21. So obviously I talked about my roommates leaving me, Casey and Leanne, and then everyone else moved out. So I was just left by my lonesome in my apartment. Our Jake and I's crazy work schedules over the summer, it was a grind, and it was so hard to coordinate. And if either of us had anything else after work, on some days we wouldn't even get to see each other. And so that was so hard to balance and juggle, but we did it. Like, we made it through, and I'm so proud of us because yeah, that was just a really hard time. That fall, I also got all new roommates, people I did not know at all. My immediate roommate ended up being really messy. Really, really messy. Like, I want you to think of the messiest roommate possible, and then it was messier. There were some days I couldn't see her floor, and we were in a shared room, but I had moved rooms, so it was kind of a unique shared room. It was a lot bigger than a typical shared room, so we kind of had almost separate spaces. Anyways, I did not know her before she moved in, and she was a really sweet girl. She just was really messy, and that was kind of hard to live with a lot. I feel really, really bad saying that. You know, we all have bad roommate stories. This was one. She was just really messy. Those were just kind of the hard parts of being 21. But I feel bad saying that a little bit because it was such a joyful year. But I think it is possible, we talked about this last time, it is possible to have happy and hard at the same time. And I think I was experiencing that a little bit. Obviously, I've talked a lot about the people who shaped that year for me. Jake is the biggest one because 21 is just like where our love story began, and he was such a safe place for me. The other person I have talked about is Emily Bergen. I freaking love her and adore her. She was a friend that I just needed. She is the epitome of angelic. And I remember I would open up to her about grief and my dad, and she would just listen to me for hours. And then had always gave the best advice. She loved coming to the temple with me. We loved doing crazy silly things together. She was just like a kindred spirit for me, like a soul sister. Obviously my mom and my sister. Emma going off to college was so exciting, and we had a whole weekend where we got to go tour colleges together. We spent the whole summer together. I wanted to spend as much time as I could with her before she left. My mom, obviously, always my mom. My mom and my sister are just going to be a part of every single year I talk about. But my mom was just a huge part of that year. I feel like in a lot of the events I've talked about, like, she was always there. Like getting endowed, she was right there with me, took me to pick out all my temple dress and clothes and things. She threw me my 21st birthday party, setting up all the family vacations. Like, she's just the type of person who's always in the background serving and making sure that everything goes right for everybody else. And my mom is like truly one of my earthly angels. I think that year I'm just most proud of myself for working so incredibly hard at everything that I set my mind to. I feel like that set up my work ethic for the rest of my life. Working so hard at Jake and I's relationship, especially during that crazy summer of schedules, to make that work. I was so proud of us and proud of myself. Working so hard, working full-time, my first time working full-time in my life, and now it's still a company I work for because I proved myself and really dedicated myself that summer. Working so hard at school, even though it didn't work out that year for me, still trying to put my mind to it and get through it with everything I was going through. I was so proud of myself. It was so difficult, and yes, I had to make the difficult decision to drop out of school at the time, but I would end up going back, and that took a lot of effort. And then just like really proud of myself for being all in and committed to someone fully. That's always been like a part of who I am. And if I could give you advice, this is probably the advice I would give you, is like to just commit. Go all in for your person. Let them feel chosen and picked every single day. And I know as you put those things out there, that will come back to you. I was all in on Jake. All in. And he was all in on me, and I never doubted that. Yes, there were hard moments of he moved a lot slower than I did. He knows this, so I can say this very lovingly. And we joke about it now. I was just like, whoop, like head over heels in love with him. I jumped right in. He took his time a little bit, but I never doubted that he did love me and that I could trust him. And we really built up that trust in one another because we were so committed. And then the last thing that I'm just really proud of myself that year is finding joy amongst grief. At this point in time, it had only been a year since my dad passed, maybe a year and a half. So I was still very much grieving that loss, but very much allowing myself to find joy and to live and experience all that life had to offer, and I'm really proud of myself for that. Overall, I think two of the biggest lessons I learned from that year is just like family is everything. And I consider Max and Jake and Emily family. At the time I know they weren't, but now they are. Now we are all family, and it's so fun. But just your family is everything. My immediate family, my mom, my sister, my extended family. We also had some family weddings that year that I really made the effort to go to, and family is just everything. And they're the only family you've got. So if you can just invest and put time into your family, you just will not regret it. Like, keep those family bonds as strong as possible for as long as possible, because it's so special. The other thing I think I learned was just that fun can be had in the smallest things. Jake and I obviously had crazy work schedules. We were both in school, and just balancing all that life was throwing at us while also balancing friendships and a relationship and family relationships. There was a lot to juggle, and we still had like the funnest summer. We had this little bench outside my apartment. It was a wooden bench that was like 2 feet wide, I swear, and 5 or 6 feet long. And we would take card games out and sit on the bench. Because I didn't know my roommates, and I was like, they were all friends and I wasn't. I was like the lone ranger in the apartment. I didn't feel like I could just go in and like sit on the couch with Jake and cuddle or watch movies if like I'm the minority in the apartment. Anyways, so what we would do is we would sit out on this bench in front of my apartment and we would play card games, we would ask each other questions, we'd play like 20 questions and things for the 2 hours we had, and then that was it. But like those times are so special to me, and I can remember those memories and inside jokes and laughs. All we did was we were playing Uno. Or like other little card games. So I think I just learned, and I think Jake and I learned this together, of like how to just create fun and magic and memories in the smallest, simplest ways. And that's been such a joy in my life. If I had to give a one sentence goodbye to 21, honestly, I loved this year, but I loved the years that were coming after. So I think what I would say to 21 was like, thank you, 21. You were fun. Bye-bye now. It was amazing, and I found my people in this year. Maybe I would say like, thanks for delivering. Like, you really delivered. You were great. Love ya. See ya on the flip side. Or maybe even more so, like, thank you for bringing the people into my life that I still have to this day. That is like really special to me. And then I was about to turn 22, and my dreams were literally about to come true. But you will get that story in the next episode of Saying Goodbye to My 20s, when we say goodbye to 22. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it. Thank you for going on this journey with me. This has honestly been so incredibly fun to recap these years with you and just to relearn and see the amazing things that have happened in my life that have gotten me where I am today. All right, everybody, that is all for today. I will see you in the next episode.